I'm Lisa Hallstatt. I'm the Vice Provost for Global Engagement here. Along with my colleagues, we are the University of Wyoming gateway to the world. So we bring in international students, send our students into the facilitate international research and partnerships, and provide support, English language instruction, and other support for the international community at the university. It's my great pleasure today to introduce our distinguished speaker, Ambassador Javlon Vakhabov from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Uzbekistan. He is the ambassador to the United States. He joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Uzbekistan in 2001 after earning an undergraduate degree at the University of World Economy in 2010. As an FSA, third secretary and chief of division, and he was appointed in 2006 to the Uzbek National Security Council, where he was promoted to deputy secretary of the council in 2011. In 2013, he served as the director of the Institute for Strategic and Interregional Research, a government-funded think tank in Tashkent. He joined the leadership team at the Foreign Ministry in 2013 as one of 4 deputy ministers of foreign affairs. And in July of 2015, he was promoted to first deputy minister. The title he held was appointed ambassador to the U.S. and Canada in 2020. This is his first official visit as ambassador to the your first unofficial visit. Okay. On this visit, he's accompanied by Mr. Artur Burfano, who, in addition to being our technical support team, is cultural attaché. He has been the president of culture, education, tourism, media, and healthcare. And he is also involved with the recently formed Uzbek Ministry of Innovation. It's my great privilege to have hosted these visitors on campus over the last couple of days. We've identified lots of potential area of shared interest and potential collaboration, and we're hearing what we would have to do today.
Could you please take off your mask because they cannot hear you on Zoom?
They can't hear us on Zoom. Is this on? The battery is on. Okay, I'm going to hand things over to the ambassador. I apologize for the slightly discombobulated nature of this introduction, but we look forward to hearing what he has to say. And I just want to thank you. Yes, sir.
Very much. This introduction. It's my absolute delight. To stay Wyoming. It's a great pleasure. That's at least in this part of the United States. So I arrived at beginning of my college today for listening. So just pursuing one very precise goal is to explore opportunities that this state, in particular the University of Wyoming, to Uzbekistan, that I represent in the United States since 2017. The country that has significantly changed since 2016, when the first president of Uzbekistan, the founder of the nation, so President Wyoming, new president. So in the last 5 years, unprecedented change and reforms as a country. And as part of this change, United States administration. Actually, it's my first assignment abroad. It was 20 years public service. It's never worked abroad. So actually, I would say now it's new phrase. Those can you help me? Just to understand what's going on. It's around solely committed to providing the governance, ensuring the rule of law. Very constructive foreign policy towards other the country is that recently celebrated the 50th anniversary of space independence. So this is one of those 15 Soviet republics that began its sovereignty in 1991. And over the last 30 years, so we've significantly grew up. So the current records were just 21. So right now, so the country just creating the hub of the entire population of Central Asia. As you may know, so the country is surrounded by all Central Asian nations. You were in the heart of the region, the heart of the innovation. So, as I said, Wyoming. It's actually the government hasn't changed. 23rd and 24th, the state was able, they're fortunate to make a visit for about 3.5 years since I see the side. Every single time, while visiting your state, and pursuing just 3 key objectives to achieve. Number 1 is it's also about how we could attract foreign direct investors to Uzbekistan. Number 2 is to promote goods that you can manufacture in the culture. Number 3 is to increase the number of foreign tourists visiting Uzbekistan. With respect to the last objective, just wanted to let you know what mentioned I was achieving. The country is usually only 3,000 years old. The country is a home for more than 4,000 historical sites, pretty popular for us. The country is a home for 4 UNESCO Centuries embassies. And due to the openness policy of this administration, so we've been happening in the last years, we've been able actually to quadruple the number of foreigners visiting Uzbekistan. Just imagine, from 2 million guests which are hosted in 2016 to almost 7.5 just prior to the pandemic in 2019. So then expanding our partnership with American educational institutions is a key part of this engagement. And over the last 2 days since I arrived in Wyoming, so I learned a lot about those marketable skills that this university so actually offered to my country. Right now, I'm still trying to identify So the areas that might work for the youth of Uzbekistan. So being the most populous nation in the region, so we're also remaining one of the youngest nations in the world. More than 60% of the population are the youth under the age of 30. People want first of all new knowledge and new expertise that the cutting edge, very advanced educational institutions like the University of Wyoming might offer to us. So in this regard, I'm very much focused on such areas as faculty and student exchange. So launching dual degree programs, research might be another area that could be mutually beneficial to our states. And we're very much grateful to the US government for its continuous support of ongoing reforms in Uzbekistan, in particular in the educational area. So over the last 4 years, so your government has allocated $50 million meant for teaching English in Uzbekistan. So the language that we would like to make a second unofficial language in the country. The reason why we've actually started teaching English from the first grade, it's getting, by the way, compulsory among all public servants. Pretty challenging due to the state legacy, but very due with it. So in this regards, currently, within the framework of those arrangements, more than 70 American educators are currently staying in the country, teaching English along with their Uzbek counterparts across the country, across Uzbekistan, public schools, and national universities as well. And more to come. And beside that, so again, thanks to to the US government support, so currently more than 60 so Uzbek teachers are arriving in the US within the framework of Fulbright College. And beside that, we resumed the so-called flex program under the curve. This opportunity provided by the State Department to high school students who we had been bringing to the United States, just allowed them to join the American families for another 1 year, stay here in the United States. At the same time, the government itself has prioritized improving capacity building in the country and pays very key attention to expanding our international partnership with leading foreign universities and other educational institutions. And among those efforts taken by these administrations, I'd like to single out a few of them. So over the last years, we've been able to host in Uzbekistan more than 20 full-fledged campuses of leading foreign universities. So that these international campuses actually joined more than 70 local national universities in the country. So our people, our young generation, are able to study at the same time. So this administration has been announcing annually almost 1,000 scholarships that are available to our students to our gifted students, I would say, who prefer to get these best knowledges abroad, particularly in the United States. Unfortunately, as I said yesterday, so the American educational institutions remain less competitive compared to those universities from the United Kingdom offering their own skills to our students. So in my job, that goes in line with the goals that this lady who kindly introduced me to all of you is pursuing next time. So my desire is to increase significantly the number of Uzbek students who will be able to come to the United States and study here. And number three, among those efforts that I would like just to underscore is related to what we are calling right now is mostly known as the presidential university that we just recently established. University that we welcome the faculty from abroad to teach the locals, to teach our students. So this is also another opportunity for the faculty, those who are representing the University of Wyoming here, to work in Uzbekistan, to share your best knowledges with our group of population, with our youth. So in this regard, my colleague, stands ready to brief you about the current educational system in the country and what kind of opportunities we could offer to you. And I believe opportunities that might be very interesting to this university. So let me stop here. Again, I'm very much thankful to all of you for taking the time despite your busy schedule, really. So in the end of this presentation, I will stand ready to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you very much. So let me start our presentation, and we will start with brief of our visit. On the first day of our visit, we of course started with meeting with the president, and we tremendously appreciate their hospitality, University of Wyoming, giving us and support to bring Uzbekistan much closer to your state. Our meeting was very productive, and together with the president, we were able to identify very promising areas of cooperation, and there are many, and still we are exploring during our visit. We also met with deans of College of Business, College of Applied Sciences, Agriculture, and also Hub School of Environment and Natural Resources. During our conversations, we preliminarily exchanged our views how we can cooperate on different issues. There are many similarities that Pakistan and the University of Wyoming can work together in order to establish direct partnership, and it might be one of the first steps in a step to bring you to Uzbekistan and your friends from Uzbekistan to Wyoming. We also had an opportunity to present uprising economy of Uzbekistan to Wyoming Business Council. We presented what kind of economic background we have, what kind of opportunities there are, what is the progress, what are the challenges, and we also exchanged our thoughts how we can collaborate between businesses in Wyoming and Uzbekistan. So before I move to the educational part, I would like to give a small brief about Uzbekistan, where it's located, what kind of country it is, and what kind of economy. So as you can see on the map, Uzbekistan is located on the opposite side of the US. So if you take, geology students would know, if you did straight down, you're probably go to Uzbekistan. And it's surrounded by 6 countries. Another similarity, like Wyoming has 6 neighbors. It's also Central Asian countries, and the countries that are making a lot of noise these days. It's Afghanistan, but the border is very safe. The population is 35 million, which was reached just a week ago, and we speak in 3 languages: Uzbek, Russian, and English. It means it gives us extra tool in order to communicate with not only the regions that we have, but also with the entire world. And the good news for you, especially for youth, is 60% of our population is under 30 years old. They are eager to dig the knowledge, learn a lot, travel around the world, and have more connections in order to make Uzbekistan known. And our GDP remains relatively small, considering our size of population, 61 billion. It's the biggest city in our country. It's our capital city, Tashkent. But also we have 4 cities that are UNESCO heritage listed cities that have 3,000 years history. One thing for economics students, especially, Uzbekistan is a progressive country that has positive GDP growth over the years. And in 2020, it was one of the very few countries during the pandemic that maintained positive growth rates. And they are forecasted for 4% and 5% in coming years. Uzbekistan is rich with natural resources. It's not a country of resource force. It's using its resources productively. It is top 10 country for many resources like gold, copper, silver, and production metals, for instance, just gold is 90 tons, and so on, leading in the world. And good for our country is that we are banning the export of raw materials from our country and trying to make more value-added production. That's why we are learning the experience of our partners across the world, in the US, as we are doing here at the embassy, and also our other embassies in different parts of the world, to bring the knowledge, to bring the technology, manufacturing, production, in order to use the resources that we have more productively and efficiently. Uzbekistan has been traditionally a country with a big share of agriculture. Nowadays, it accounts of 28% of our GDP, and it employs more than 40% of our population. Uzbekistan, in our country, about 50% of our population resides in rural area and so much dependent on agriculture. And it, for instance, last year it generated more than 40 billion in our GDP, and we export a lot of our agricultural products within the region. And because Uzbekistan is, as you could see in the map, it's double and up. We don't have much access from the seaports to the entire world, and it makes it costly to agricultural products to export again. Tourism is another promising and beautiful sectors of our economy that is usually growing over the years. If we had only 2 million tourists in 2016, the number increased to 7 million in 2019. And we were having even bigger expectations in 2020, but unfortunately, the pandemic really devastated, and the number of tourists declined hugely. Many companies were having a very hard time because they were preparing for a huge influx of tourists and creating new hotels and new tourism infrastructure, but everything was blocked during the pandemic years. And government supported hugely tourism industry is freezing all their loans, debts, and everything, so that they wouldn't go bankrupt and they could have some kind of incentive to continue their work in tourism industry. Uzbekistan is popular both for historical tourism, gastronomic tourism, ecotourism, and it's in the process of development. And there are many things that we have to learn from Wyoming, especially in terms of ecotourism, hiking, environmental tourism, so that we could see more infrastructure. We have discovered that even Wyoming is not perfect, lacking a lot of infrastructure for tourists. Unlike Wyoming, Uzbekistan is not so, I would say, densely populated. Our population is bigger, even if we have only 2 times more land. It gives us more opportunity in terms of development infrastructure. Let me a little bit boast here about my country. So I will start showing off that we have WTO headquarters in Uzbekistan. It was headquarters established in Samarkand in 2004. Uzbekistan is a very safe country, which is acknowledged by the State Department. Usually it's very hard to get from State Department to get a safe country acknowledgement for those parts of the world. And Uzbekistan is one of the second safest country by worldliness and law and order. So that's Bahrain, variable crime rate, very safe. I'm not sure if you can leave your cars open like Wyoming, but still it's a very safe place. The Global Peace Index ranks Uzbekistan as top 5 safest country. Most probably, those who have traveled looked at the Roman planet to different like marketing places, different sites to visit. Uzbekistan is the second top place in Asia to visit by Roman planet, and everyone knows, I guess, in the room what New York Times magazine is, newspaper. New York Times organizes every year. Used to organize journeys to different parts of the world, but unfortunately, during the pandemic, they ceased this practice, and still the journeys are pending. So before pandemic, last visit was in 2019. New York Times journeys used to organize high-level, I would say, more luxurious, people-oriented travels to Uzbekistan. They were 4 times in a year. So it gives also very good understanding of why Uzbekistan is very popular by tourists. But it is a hidden, I would say, hero in a global market of tourism. And our job, our investors, is to rediscover Uzbekistan to the US. Let me talk shortly about our reforms that we are having in Uzbekistan. As a Muslim sport in 2016, they had transition of presidential tradition because our first president passed, and so we had a new government. Our current president, President Garcia, used to be in government previously as a prime minister for certain years, and we hear many challenges that we have. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we have been doing a great, really massive reform agenda in our country. And results are stating for themselves. For instance, doing business ranking that's published every year by World Bank shows that in 2020 we had 69th position, which is a huge leap considering what we had in 2012. We had 166. It's almost 100 positions. It's a great work for one country to have in 8 years. And also, by the economic freedom, Uzbekistan is one of the, I would say, actively moving free countries. In 2019, the Economist Journal ranked Uzbekistan, stated Uzbekistan as country of the year. The reason staying behind it, Uzbekistan in 2019 was the most progressive country in the world. So it was also, I would say, acknowledged on Uzbekistan's reforms. And here I would like to point out this dots in screen 86, what it means. It's visa-free countries for Uzbekistan. In 2017, we had only 19 citizens of 9 countries with this Uzbekistan visa. But we have abolished the visa for almost 90 countries step by step, making them able to visit Uzbekistan visa. It gives a huge influx of tourism and popularity in the press. Unfortunately, US citizens are not in that list because it's very tough to enter to the US, and your government is not making a good job in order to change the situation. But we made a good job for US citizens to apply for a visa online. It's like opening a Facebook account, and you will get it electronically. It costs only $20, but a US visa for Uzbek citizens costs $160. So 8 times cheaper for you, and you can directly fly from not Laran. Your airport is very small. As they from Kiev, they have direct flights to Uzbekistan, operated by Uzbekistan Airways, three times every. And it's not long, only 11 hours non-stop flights. So you can discover Uzbekistan for you. And I'm not sure if anyone in this room have been to Uzbekistan. Wonderful. So Uzbekistan is pretty known here too. let me continue boasting. So, as a result of economic reforms, our FDI import to Uzbekistan increased significantly. Here, you can see on a yellow line, it's an FDI flow. In 2016, we had about 2 billion. In 2020, we had 6.7 billion. And this year, we're expecting about 7.5 billion FDI. A number of projects with FDI was 95 in 2016, and the number is increased, but now increased 9 times. So now in 2021, we have 812 projects with FDI. And the most appealing sectors, as you can see from the pie, is energy. Second is textile industry, and also we have automobile industry. Others, and education is also a investor has noted during this meeting some businesses around energy is dependent on our Western partners, Eastern partners. There are many new developments in solar energy, in wind energy. We are for the first time started developing a nuclear power station in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is only country in our region, small region, to produce automobiles. We have been producing for more than 25 years. That's first we started with South Korean Air Corporation, but in 2008 they got bankrupt their automobile division, and GM holds their share. So together with GM and Uzbekistan government, we have GM Uzbekistan, which produces about 10 types of Chevys. You would never see a country, your friends who visit Uzbekistan can prove, you would never see a country where there's a huge concentration of Chevys like in Uzbekistan. You can go to the parking lot and see 10 cars. I will guarantee that I would be Chevy.
Nice.
And let me- And here, let me tell only one time from this graph, not take my time. Number of foreign enterprises in Uzbekistan doubled from 2017 to 2020, and this year the number jumped even further, almost 12,000. It's a clear indication how a country can exploit any area, becoming attractive for foreigners. Otherwise, they wouldn't open up their companies in France or in NS. So it's a very good report. Uzbekistan is becoming more attractive. And here are the companies that are working in Uzbekistan. Not the total list, but some of the lists that we can pick up and spend some time. So it's a huge time to put all the logos here. So it's nice. So on the bottom level, you can see some companies that belong to the US. First, I said GM Uzbekistan. We have good investments from Coca-Cola, CNH Industrial, Hilton and Hyatt building luxurious hotels. It's not like, no offense, it's not like Hilton Garden Inn. It's absolutely another level. Not Burj Al Arab or Burj Al Khalifa, they're in Dubai, but very similar. We have a good presence of John Deere machinery in our country to develop agriculture industry to support mechanization process. I have Canadian Peterbilts that are, I would say, one of the very promising companies growing our geology sector and extracting mineral resources. Not to mention, just entered KFC and West North. So now we come to the education. I'm sorry, investor, I'm not showing the picture of the university that's you created, investor created from the best national university called the University of World Economy and Diplomacy, where I would say most of the government officials, bright-minded people graduated. But today I would like to focus more on foreign universities. Here on the top photo, you can see the University of Westminster's campus in Tashkent. It is the first university that established foreign campus in Uzbekistan in 2001. It's a UK-based university and proud graduate of such university. And the photo on bottom side, it's Webster University. It is the first American campus that's open not only in Uzbekistan, but entire Central Asia. So let me quickly show how the progress is going on in education sector.
It's mentioned where these university.
Yes, it's from Missouri sectors. And let me just point out your attention to some numbers here. Over the last 3 years, we had the number of universities in Uzbekistan increased from 65 to 117. And we have been able to achieve the increase of 21 foreign campuses in Uzbekistan. We have not only Western, but it's a very diverse. We have Turin Polytechnical University. We have Korean universities, we have Singapore universities, we have Russian universities, German universities, opening up their things. Initially, they were having a small number of students, 200, 300. But now, none of them have less than 1,000 students. For instance, the Webster University that has a main campus in Missouri started with only short courses and 200 students at the beginning. But only in 1 year, after 1 year of operation in Uzbekistan, they increased the number of their students to 1,000. And next year, they are going to increase 2,000 by 2,000. And moreover, they are now trying to open their second campus in Uzbekistan. So it's a very business-oriented model. It means they're making a lot of money in this. Another very attractive for the students and applicants is admission quota. So the total capacity of universities in Uzbekistan, we had almost 6,000 applicants could be students in 1 year. We increased that number 3 times. Now it's 181, which means that if in 2016 we had only 9% coverage for all applicants that could study at universities, now it's 25% this year. So 25% of applicants can get education. And our target is to get 50% by 2030. Moreover, together with our foreign partners operating like the University of Wyoming, now we are doing, and other universities across the globe, we were able to include 64 new, I would say, programs, specialties in order to educate Uzbekistan. And a good thing that professors would really value in Uzbekistan is that salaries for professors and teachers increased 3.5 times. So it's a huge incentive for people to come to universities to teach. And over the couple days, our visit in Wyoming, together with the ambassador, we had extensive talks after the meetings on what are the areas. First, I would say frontier areas that we could think of to develop further. Of course, I have been receiving a lot more from ambassador because of a lot number of meetings, and I bet I will not have any weekends this week. But still, it's a very good development that we can partner with the University of Wyoming. There are really many areas that we can work with. First is student exchange. The real opportunities that we can bring students from Uzbekistan and yourself to Uzbekistan to have either one semester exchange or short months exchange or even a year exchange, depending on how your administration will cooperate with us, and we can reach agreements. And as I mentioned, the faculty exchange is very promising. It will have a way to build the capacity of our professors and teachers and faculty in Uzbekistan, and also share their knowledge with their counterparts at the University of Wyoming. Third dimension would be non-degree courses. It would help for many practical skills and specialist experts in our country to develop their practical skills based on what we have learned from tourism, from mining, geology, engineering, there are many things that we can work on. Fourth one is more, I would say, comprehensive one. It's degree courses. So it would be our ultimate goal to have undergraduate and graduate degree courses established at University of Wyoming. It might be double degrees, 2+2 programs, 3+1 programs, and different forms of degree programs. It would really help our country to develop and to use the capacity to our students, researchers, professionals, and faculties. And the third area, it was also personally highlighted by the president. It's a joint research. We know that Wyoming has huge capacity. And in Uzbekistan, we have also tremendous capacity of research. But they may not have the same research. So we believe that in combination, they can give more, I would say, comprehensive researches, and they would complement each other. So it's another dimension that we could go toward the University of Wyoming. And thank you very much. So shortly, if you have any questions, Ambassador and me will be very happy to answer. Please.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm curious, looking at this last slide that you had with the cooperation with the University of Wyoming, can you speak a little bit to sort of the percentage of your cooperation with Russia and with the European Union as compared to sort of the U.S.? I'm specifically speaking about universities and students.
Great. Very, very interesting and very good question. And I think it is a thing that we wanted to mention that we probably deliberately not mentioned in our traditionally, you know that Uzbekistan has been cooperating with Russian universities a lot. And one of the first campuses that established in Uzbekistan was Russian university campuses. Currently, we have found out that 5 or 6 Russian university campuses in Uzbekistan. There are many students traveling to Russia to study because of many reasons. First is the language. At our schools, students learn both Russian and English in addition to Uzbek. Second reason is proximity. It's the closest place to get a more higher education, high quality education, rather than flying to Europe or US. Third is the cost. Our cost to study in Russian universities are cheaper rather than to study in European universities or in US universities. So these factors make that in percentage. I might not use an exact percentage, but it is higher than what we have in US and EU because of the foundation reasons. Just one short information here that we have special foundation called Hope of the Nation. It gives every year 1,000 scholarships, full funded scholarships to the students who enter top 500 universities or top 500 major best specialty faculties across the world. And out of that 1,000, about 300 students entered the granted scholarships for Russian universities too. For the then comes Europe, but with majority is UK that has almost 200. And for the US, it was only 19. And 6 of 19 was given to the Webster University that's based in Washington. Which means that our American partners are doing not a great job marketing their universities in Uzbekistan. So it's our goal that we have been working with American consultants and others to market yourself better in our market, so students would know more about opportunities and what they can learn coming to the US. Was I okay?
Yeah, that was a general discussion.
Let me give the floor to you.
I think you answered part of my question. You mentioned wanting more students to come to America, and I was wondering if the difficulty was with the cost or the visas, getting permission, or something else. I guess you said cost is
Cost is a factor, but marketing is a bigger factor, I guess.
And the visa restrictions as well.
all those.
So currently you are in the same fashion, it's not operating at full capacity. One addition to your answer. So regarding the Russian universities currently operating in Uzbekistan, and our students studying in Russia as well. He said 300, but last year this number actually doubled. It was 600 of all scholarships with my government or notes. Were given to the students who successfully passed their exams selected by Russian universities. The reason is most of them language or language. So the gap that we like to fill teaching for English. 200 scholarships to universities, mostly representing European universities. The reason why we are currently welcoming American educators for teaching English in the country, the goal of these foundations that my colleague mentioned is to send our young generation, our youth, to the West, get the best knowledge that the European countries, the United States, and all. But due to this language challenges, so our youth actually just prefer the easiest way to practice. But in the meantime, the reason why we are doing so much reforming the educational system in the country and trying to make English the second official language in the country, just to address the unemployment challenges that we are facing in the country. And just mentioned, so annually, more than 750,000 young people are entering the local labor market. Unfortunately, only 500,000 of them are employed within the country. So the rest part are remaining unemployed or living for neighboring countries where they are residing and working mostly as labor migrants. We persist in understanding that English might offer to these unemployment part of the population more opportunities. And the internet itself is based on English, Russian, and also the reason why this administration is prioritizing teaching English for campuses coming from the world. Those 21 foreign campuses that the gentleman mentioned, I would say more than half came from the European Union. Particularly the Turin Technical University comes from Italy. So the universities that this gentleman actually was supposed to work on. That's only the idea. In the meantime, we're trying to diversify, but every single subject is taught in English. No Russian, no Uzbek at all. So it's a way how we are trying to address the challenges.
Directly going to, if you happen to know these data, let us know how many of those 1,000 scholarship earners were women. I'd just love to know how women's education is going in your country. And then I understand that in general, and I'm speaking from knowledge of Russia, but it can be harder for young women to get visas to the US from former Soviet countries than young men. So if you speak to either of those.
So, to be honest, I don't have the exact statistics so regarding this proportion. But in the meantime, despite our tough neighborhood in the region, so we fact, 95% of the population worships Islam. So these terms, there are no restrictions at all with regard to the education that we are trying but it's very well, so the most, yes, one of our elections back in Uzbek. So again, she's a belief here. Comes next. It also there are a lot of studies almost 30 years old and successfully applied our other institutions here. By the way, so the vast majority of the current government is part of the alumni who graduated from US and EU-based public education. He's the graduate of Yale University. The Prime Minister is the graduate of the Harvard University. So working so in the government, people with kind of very attractive background.
Well, let me answer the second part of your question regarding the women studying abroad. It's, I don't know the like official statistics if it is anyhow maintained or but from my personal experience as an educational advocate as an embassy, I can say that I know more Uzbek female students studying in the US than Uzbek male students studying in the US. So, and moreover, rather than unemployed, girls are studying in more higher ranked universities. Trying to find someone from Columbia, Harvard, MIT, Stanford. I usually find the girls, no boys. Any more questions? If you do not have any questions, thank you very much for the opportunity.